like maybe this isn't the year for you to replatform. It's the year for you to maximize the investment that you have already. Because a ton of the clients that come to us when they want to move from one platform to another, we go in and we do an audit and say, like, you're not even using these search capabilities or these promotion capabilities or this content thing. So I would say if you're looking at your budget for the rest of the year and what to do, I would say make sure that you're maxing out your current site first, your current solution before you do anything else.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the eCommerce Coffee Break podcast. E-commerce is moving fast, new tools, new channels, more data than ever. But most brands still guessing, and that leads to bad decisions and wasted spend. So the real question is, how do you know if your brand is set up to win in the future? To break this down, I'm joined by Rubin. He's the founder and president of Kasama Digital. Mark has been in e-commerce since the early days. He started as one of the first demand map developers and now leads Kasama, where he helps brands build and scale across Shopify, Salesforce, and many more platforms. So let's get started. Mark, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Mark, why do so many brands struggle with their data?
Why do they struggle with data? At Kasama, we talk about the way to solve problems. And so many people start with technology as technology is the way to solve a problem. But you got to start with people and then process and then technology. And so oftentimes you have the right people who don't have the right process. They don't have the right time to do it. They don't, it's not a priority. Like they just want to get one piece done. And maybe it's them, maybe it's the wider organization that doesn't think about how this data could be used outside of this one use case. So if you're a company with, a couple hundred products, it's fine. But many of the clients that we work with have tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of products. And so it can be really, really difficult to deal with your data. So oftentimes if it's not ready, there's a paralysis of getting it ready. Like analysis paralysis or like fear about the size of the project, but it's not a thing that you have to fix in one day.
Mm-hmm. Now, every tool that comes out and that is in there has a dashboard, has a lot of data to present. It's a sales argument for them that we provide the right data, but the wrong data, bad data, can lead to bad decisions. What's your stand on that?
Yeah. Also, another 3-tier thing. On the very first day of my graduate school, the teachers did their standard thing. Like everyone raised their hand, and now half of you put them down. Like half of you aren't going to be here in 6 months. And by the time that you're done with this class, we want you to understand the difference between data, information, and knowledge. And so. If you don't have a good data foundation, you can't use that information to help you gain knowledge.
Mm-hmm. I like this explanation between information and data, that there is definitely a difference there, and knowledge basically results from all of this. Now, you're working with a lot of very well-known brands out there, and I want to move a little bit in the direction of choosing the right platform, because data is coming from platforms. Why is it so hard to pick the right platform to sell online?
Oh man, it's honestly like a lot of marketing at this point. Like we work with some of the best platforms out there, and there's so much parity with them already. And so you see, like a few years ago it was omnichannel, and everyone raced for omnichannel, and it was headless, and now everyone's racing towards AI and like LLMs and data. And in the end, unless you're on the absolute bleeding edge, within 6 or 12 months, they're all going to be on the same parity again. So what I do love, at least in the current state of the AI race, is that people are, is that if you have to move today, there are some platforms that are further ahead than others. But I think they're all, but I think the majority of the platforms out there are really good. It's really going to be just what's best for you, right? If you have a really complicated checkout, well, that may lead you to another one. If you've got really strong international cases, it may lead you to another one. If you've got a ton of apps and external things that may lead you to another one. So there's really no bad choices these days. I would really say, kind of bad projects, not bad platforms.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit because we have listeners coming from all sorts. So we have online sellers, solo sellers, we have small and medium enterprises, we have the big DTC companies listening to this podcast. What's sort of the normal journey or evolution of going from one platform to another? Can you give examples what you have experienced in your life?
I mean, yeah, it's interesting. I've been in the agency space for a long time, but I've also been like after I sold my last company, I took some bench time and worked for what they describe themselves as like a 10-year-old startup for a company that was selling or like healthcare products online, and they had a phenomenal engineering team that had taken this Microsoft product that wasn't meant to do more than like a few thousand in sales, and we're able to customize it to tens of millions in sales. And so they were outgrowing it. Like they hired Accenture to come in and do an audit, and like Accenture was like, I can't believe that you guys are even able to make this happen. And so even though like I personally had been involved in dozens of replatforms, and the group that we ended up hiring or like to help us had done hundreds, it was still a mess. And it's not for lack of understanding. It's just that there are so many moving parts to these things, and I don't want to scare people, right? I mean, like we do projects all the time that are not like messy. Like I would call them good, but it's still a lot of stress. And one of the main reasons I think isn't, again, it's not the technology. It comes down to the people and process. You're someone who's in e-commerce. You've already got 6 jobs on your plate. And now you've got another job of trying to move platforms. There's just often not enough time.
Mm-hmm. Now I can imagine, and change management in itself is a complicated process. Now it brings me. It's hard. That's definitely so. It brings me a little bit back to where we started with data. I mean, obviously, with your replatform coming from, I don't know, you started with WooCommerce, you want to move to Shopify or any other platform, is like. How's your approach on getting the data from A to B?
Yeah. And I think when you, like your first question, I was really talking about like product data, but it's more than just the product data. If we're looking at it from like a pure technical point of view, about moving your orders, your customers, your content, your promotions, most of the platforms out there have standard ways of getting them in. So your agency should already have IP or at least like processes to help you get the data back and forth. So it's just a question of as you're making this move, do you also invest the time and money to get the data in a better shape? I think we talked about like analysis, like paralysis earlier. I think no one's data is ever going to be perfect, and like it's just the nature of it. But there is always a chance to make it better. So if you are doing a right platform, that is a good point for you to say, let's spend a little extra time and figure out how to make this data better going forward.
Mm-hmm. Now, I mentioned before you have done a lot of replatforms. You're working with big brands. How does a strong e-commerce setup look like today? What's perfect world scenario?
Oh man, like you talked about, like or there's so many listeners here. Like perfect is something different for every one of them. Some people, or like some of our customers, like e-commerce is their only business. And others, e-commerce is merely a tool to help them get a human to pick up the phone. So you have to find the tools and technology that match your business goals, right? I mean, like all of the platforms out there can do a good job. It's really just figuring out like why you want to have the system running.
Mm-hmm. Now, at Kasama, you're helping with the whole process. And it will bring me a little bit back to AI. Is AI something that helps with all of this, or is it too early to talk about AI and replatforming?
Oh yeah, it's definitely not too early. And if you're not talking about it, it's probably too late. I like to say that we were one of the first people to kind of really be out about using AI. Like over 3 years ago, we started introducing AI clauses into our contracts saying that we're going to use AI to speed this up. And like, mind you, this is time and materials, or the majority of our projects, time and materials, which means that for every hour we work, we get paid, versus a fixed bid where you say, I'll do this project for $100,000 and that's just the price. So we were saying, we are going to use AI to make things faster for you, which will make them cheaper. And the majority of our customers at the time 3 years ago said no.
Oh,
and now, like 3 years, which is light years like it's an infinity in the AI age. We don't get hired if we don't use AI tools. So we use kind of three main tools. We use a tool to help speed up development. We use tools to help with documentation, and a majority of our team are offshore. So we use a simple tool called Grammarly to help our team speak more fluently in the region where they're doing their work. And so that's just the day-to-day operations. Our clients can do phenomenal things with AI tools, whether on platform or things that are platform adjacent.
Let's come to your clients. Who's your perfect customer?
I mean, like my first answer is like the ones that pay their bills on time. It's interesting because we work with, maybe a Salesforce or a Shopify, and they ask the same question. And the agency that we're built for is your traditional e-commerce, your apparel, your footwear, your cosmetics, things like that. But that is the least amount of customers we have. Ones that we really, really enjoy are ones that are outside of that. I don't want to say weird. I'd say like your non-traditional ones. Like we have multiple customers over the years that have dealt with like death care, either like funerals or cremations or caskets and urns. We have like recycling clients. We have clients doing pay-per-view. We have like regulated industries. I mean, one client I'm super, super proud of is America's largest ministry for people who are in prison. And we connected Shopify with Salesforce there. And like, that's not the kind of thing that a lot of the other groups can say that they've done.
No, makes perfect sense. And I think you gave a good highlight. And I think we never spoke about this on the show is, as you said, when people think about e-commerce, they talk about fashion, supplements, the usual stuff. But there is huge businesses out there who are so very, very niche, and they are making tons of money. I spoke to a guy who's selling replacement parts for Vespa scooters, for old classic scooters. Has a massive business, but he also has like tens of thousands of SKUs, which makes it very complicated. Could you share some success stories, and you don't need to name the brands, or case studies of businesses that you have worked with and how you help them?
Yeah, sure. So a lot of our earliest reputation was coming in to clean up the mess, and like we talked about, like replatforms are often messies, and it's not normally like it's rarely like the platform's issue. It's typically the implementation. So in our early days, we were introduced by one of our bigger partners to a brand that was just moving to the platform. They had big goals, like doing well over $1 billion in online revenue. And the relationship with their agency went so sour that they fired them. Like flat out, like we're often brought in to replace another agency, and like we've been replaced too. It just happens. In this case, the agency had already been fired, and their production website was broken. We were able to come in on the very first day. We did our intro call at 9 a.m. and at 11 a.m. we had a production hotfix ready for them. It's pretty much unheard of in our industry. And I'm proud to say that we did it again 1 year later. A friend introduced me to a sporting brand on Friday night. We talked Saturday morning, and we fixed their site on Sunday. I don't think there's a lot of agencies out there that can do that. So that's kind of like flexing our muscle. And I mean, it's just hard because we worked on so many other projects. One that's always been a favorite of mine was we worked for the St. Jude's Children's Hospital, building out their online store, and we got to spend time with them on site at their headquarters or their main hospital in Tennessee. And that was a real chance to see the work that we were doing was truly getting back.
Very interesting examples, and again, that shows how broad the spectrum of e-commerce is and what everything is basically involving in there. It's real business. The e-commerce, the store side, that's just the smallest little thing that people see, but everything that works in the background that makes the business. Now, walk me through a typical onboarding process. What steps are involved? How long does it take? You gave just an example. It can be very quick. And what's needed by the merchant?
Yeah, sure. And we kind of operate in three main areas. It's either building the solution, maintaining and growing the solution, or maybe you just need an extra resource. One of our customers hired us to help them work on making their website more usable for the disabled, like their flagship website. They also hired us to build out a teen version of their website, and someone else was going on parental leave for a few months, and they hired us to do some staffing. So each one of those requires different onboarding. In the best case scenario, I know we talked about, we came in, we did an intro call, and we pushed code the next day. That's the exception, not the rule. So typically, we like to come in and like I said at the top of the show, we like to learn about people in the process. Because the technology kind of comes last. We like to learn, how they work, what they do in their day to day, and how we can make the people that use the software, how we can make their lives better so they can focus on things that matter more. And of course, these days that involves, how we can introduce AI to help them, whether it's using a process or sharing some of our own internal tools, or introducing other partners in the ecosystem. So there's typically an audit, a discovery. If we're coming in for a growth or maintenance piece, there's typically a partner in place. We're generally friendly people, and we're all professionals. So we work with them to figure out how to get onboarded properly to minimize risk as well as cost, because oftentimes when we're doing that, the customer is now paying two agencies at the same time. And so we want to get in as efficiently as possible.
Well, that makes perfect sense. Is there any kind of homework a merchant needs to do before they approach you?
Yeah, I mean, you got to figure out what you want and why you're leaving. People for the first few years came to us because we were more of a value brand. And in the last few years, we've been really able to say, not only do you have more value when you hire us, we also do really good work. So there's sometimes when we're in pitches, and my head of growth likes to say, if it's three finalists and there's us, and maybe it's Accenture and Publicis or something. One of us doesn't belong, and it's probably us. So you need to find out what kind of group you want to work for. What are your goals? What are your timelines? Oftentimes, we've come in and we work with a group that has had maybe five vendors in 5 years, and that's when you have to look at you have to look inside yourself and say, why have we had 5 vendors in 5 years when all of them are leaders in their space? And so we try to have these open and honest conversations with them early on to see if we're just going to end up getting the same mistakes because we're too small to have an F up, basically.
That makes sense. I think being honest and really getting an understanding of what the client wants, and maybe even helping them to find out what they want if they don't know what they want, is a huge benefit.
Yeah, but sometimes you don't even know how to ask the right questions. Like we were talking to someone last night who hired a group to build out 3 of the websites, and I was trying to be as polite as I could. Like they were terrible. And it's rare that I would say terrible. It seems like the group that they hired read the instruction manual of like how to install the platform, not how to make it work for them. And so I'm not really sure where I was going with that, but it's just there's so many good groups out there, and it's rare that we see those situations. But like when they asked us what we would fix, all right, normally like we have a list of maybe a top 10, and this one we're like everything. It was just not good, and we could see why they were coming to us and looking for partners because things just were not converting.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you should not switch too late in the process, and then you need a firefighter, which you also can do. But obviously, that's not the best way to go forward. But before our coffee break comes to an end today, is there anything you want to share with our listeners that we haven't covered yet?
Oh man, I mean, like I think this is an exciting time to be in the space. I keep quoting it back at Shop Talk. I was able to be in a room where someone I really respect, who goes to a ton of conferences, said that the AI age, and I'm paraphrasing here, like the AI age is so exciting right now for the conferences because there truly is innovation going on. And at a conference, last couple of years, I don't know or how many you go to. I go to a fair amount, and it's 90% the same content for a couple of year cycle, and you're not really learning much. But in this age when things are moving so fast, people who are normally competitors are like collaborating and trying to figure out how they can grow things better together, and that's really exciting for me. Like I would say that we published a white paper this year where we talked about, like maybe this isn't the year for you to replatform. It's the year for you to maximize the investment that you have already. Because a ton of the clients that come to us when they want to move from one platform to another, we go in and we do an audit and say, like, you're not even using these search capabilities or these promotion capabilities or this content thing. So I would say if you're looking at your budget for the rest of the year and what to do, I would say make sure that you're maxing out your current site first, your current solution before you do anything else. And I would also, maybe the last piece is like we talk about data, product data specifically for e-commerce is probably the thing that we're the most concerned about these days. And that's why if you look at like the PIM space, the Kineos, the Salsifys, etc., they're all doing phenomenally well because they can help you get that data that you need in a format that the LLMs need much faster than doing it by yourself. And so I would say, like, if you are looking at spending money this year to get your AI going better, if you're not using a PIM, that's where you should be spending your money. And of course, we're happy to help you with that. But if not, that's where I would say you should be spending your time this year.
Exactly. On that note, where can people go and find out more about you?
Yeah, sure. So we are Kasama. Our website is kasamadigital.com. We're on LinkedIn as well. And we'd love to learn more.
Cool. I will put the links in the show notes as always, then you just one click away. Mark, thanks so much. That was a very interesting chat. And I agree that AI is right now, I think, the fastest moving thing that is there. I think in the first couple of years, people were trying to get their head around what it is. And now it has really got momentum and things are moving fast. And having someone like you and your team by your side to figure out how it works best for your business, I think that's a good business decision.
Thanks. Like these things should be used to start conversations, to start ideas, not necessarily do everything for you.
That's absolutely right. I couldn't agree more. Mark, thanks so much for your time. Hope to speak to you again soon. Thanks so much.